In this presentation, we are going to introduce you the flywheel energy storage system, explain how it works and why this technology is very useful. We will also explain you about the structure of flywheels and show you some advantages and disadvantages. Flywheel is as simple as it sounds, is a large heavy wheel. By applying a torque on it, the wheel gains very high rotational speed, and in other words, it can gain a big amount of kinetic energy. We can change the structure and the rotational speed very easy to reach the amount of energy we want to store. Flywheels can be used as a very efficient energy storage system, and it can store a very high amount of energy due to its high moment of inertia and its huge speed. When required, this energy can be converted into electrical energy, and in many cases, flywheel is much better option than a regular battery. If we want the flywheel energy storage system to be really efficient, we need to minimize the losses as much as we can. To build a good flywheel, we use bearings that will reduce the power loss by friction, and we will use a room with vacuum or specific gas to ensure there is also no friction from the wind that can make us lose energy. To store a big amount of energy, we need to rotate the flywheel in high speed. That requires us to build the flywheel from strong materials and strong shaft that can hold on to the stresses on the flywheel.
As we mentioned before, the amount of energy that can be stored by a flywheel depends on the moment of inertia. And as you can see below, the moment of inertia depends on two main variables: the mass of the wheel and the speed of the wheel. Hence, we have two types of flywheels. The first one is a mixture of materials like carbon-carbon, which is lightweight and strong, and to get the maximum inertia, it runs on its maximum speed. The second type relies on the mass variable and uses steel as the main material. That's why these types of flywheel are usually bigger and heavier. In both types of flywheel, the preference is to put the mass as far as possible from the rotation axis. Few examples for companies or corporations who adopted the flywheel energy storage are Beacon Power. It's a company in the United States that uses flywheels to store wind energy. Also, there is Enercon, which also uses flywheels to store wind energy, and it works in all over Europe. Another different example is Volvo, the car manufacturer. In the S60 model, there is a flywheel which is used to store energy when the car decelerates or when the driver hit the brakes. And when accelerating again, the flywheel's energy helps bring the car up to speed. It is a hybrid car, of course, I forgot to mention. This usage of the flywheel lowers down the fuel consumption in the car.
In this slide, I will show you some advantages and disadvantages of flywheel energy storage. The first advantage is simple technology. In this case, we have few things that I will talk about. The first one is the time that flywheel can work. For example, there are few flywheels that still ongoing since the first flywheel was invented. The second is that flywheel can work in almost every climate. This feature useful for places that have extreme weather conditions. The last thing in this part is that flywheels are very efficient and take less space than other forms of energy storage. The second advantage is Newton's first law of motion. This law, talking about that a moving object will tend to keep moving until some forces will stop me. Flywheel will eventually stop due to the friction. But why this is an advantage? The flywheels have a small friction because it spins on bearings that reduces the friction. Due to this fact, flywheels use efficiently the first law of motion. This fact is one of the important features that distinguish flywheel energy storage from other energy storage. Now I will show you some disadvantages about flywheel energy storage. The first disadvantage is the weight. Flywheels tend to be very heavy. For instance, a complete Formula One flywheel system adds about 25 kilograms to the car's weight, which is a huge extra load. The second disadvantage is the acting forces on flywheels. When the flywheel move at extremely high speeds, it gains huge stress and strain. These forces could explode the flywheel into pieces. These forces affect the limit of how fast the flywheel can spin. Less spins is integrate of how much energy the flywheel can store. So, in theory, flywheels can store more energy. This shows us how strong flywheels can be as energy storage.
In conclusion, flywheels are very useful technology that is used in many futures. It is also environmentally friendly because flywheels have much better life cycle than regular batteries. Also, to store the same amount of energy in a regular battery, we need a really big one, and that can cost much money and take a lot of space. Flywheels can be also used to store energy from the wind that can help us to use less gas to produce electricity. We hope you enjoyed from the presentation and gained a new point of view about energy storage.